All right, folks, don't touch that dial, because coming at you next right here on Cliff's Notes, we have the one, the only, you know him as Cujo, you know him and you love him, Curtis Johnson, next on Cliff's Notes. Real estate agents, are you struggling with the day-to-day grind, dialing for dollars, putting in hours of floor time with little to show for it? Are you looking for tips, tricks, and tactics to accelerate your career as an agent that will have you closing more homes, working with more clients, and earning more money than ever before? Hi, my name's Cliff Freeman, and I've spent the past 2 decades of my real estate career running one of the top brokerages in DFW and personally coaching over 1,000 high-performing real estate professionals across North America. I created this podcast to share the strategies and tactics you need to explode your real estate business. I guarantee it. Hola, 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 y bienvenidos al Cliff's Notes hoy. Yes, fresh back from Cabo, right? Here we are, C3. What an amazing trip that was, huh?
That was incredible.
Indeed.
Very inspiring.
Yeah, unbelievable. I've never seen so much talent in one place before.
Holy cow.
A lot of real estate talent.
That was impressive.
It was unbelievable. A lot of rider-downers and ahas. Yep.
Man, I had at least 20 pages of notes that I'm still unpacking and putting into a Word document. It was really great.
Yeah. It was definitely worth every penny and then some of it. Yes,
totally.
The price of admission. But we did miss our spiritual leader and guider, 𝘓𝘍𝘶. Man, I'll tell you, we were thinking about you on the beach, drinking cold Corona and worshiping the sun out there.
Hey man, I was there in spirit.
Yeah,
I was there in spirit.
We could feel Sabona, right? We could feel your spirit, yes, sir. All right, I just want to dig right in here because we have one of my dearest friends and one of my mentors in the business. Gosh, Curtis put me under his wing, even though we were, in the same space with coaching and everything like that. He's always been a giver, a helper. He's got a heart of gold, and he's got a wallet of gold right now because of the amazing things that he's been able to do in the last few years. Curtis, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Oh my goodness, it is awesome to be on here, and obviously, Cliff, you're being way too kind. I've mentored from you, right? And I think that we both pushed each other to be able to do things, and now obviously the alignment within EXP to be in your organization and being able to continue to learn from you and really kind of ride your coattails of some of the things that you're doing. You're changing lives, and I'm just excited to be a part of it, man.
Well, you are no small cog in the wheel. Let me tell you what, you've had a huge impact on our family and our EXP family, and I know that that's what drives you and gets you out of bed in the morning is doing for others, and we're just so excited to be in business with you, and I can't wait to get together. I'm sorry we won't see you in Scottsdale, but Dallas in August is going to be hot. It's going to be hot in Dallas, boy. Isn't it?
It's going to be great. Let's go.
Baby. Yeah, Tony Robbins. Let's see. I forgot the dates. Is it 27th?
No, it's the 17th through the 19th.
17th through the 19th. That's right. Yeah. At the
gate. We're excited. It's going to be a big group going out there, and man, we are just jacked up. We're excited about Scottsdale next week, and just so many good things. And you'd mentioned, that I've had a small impact on your family and things. I think we've had an impact, over years, learning from each other and teaching and things like that. But obviously the financial alignment inside of EXP is amazing because, you benefit and things like that. But here's the deal. It benefits me. It's not like a win-lose, right? It's not a zero-sum game. This is something that, I benefit and also you benefit. And I think that's what is kind of the glue that brings it all together.
I think I love that term you used, zero-sum game. And, that's when it's not a zero-sum game, that's when you can really talk about wealth creation. It's like the stock market is not a zero-sum game. There is wealth created within that. And we're creating wealth within families that we're partnered with, and it's really exciting to see. I get God bumps and almost to tears to hear the stories that were told in Cabo about people, paying off the mortgages on their homes and being able to put their kids into schools, or, maybe they were ill and not able to work, but they still had a good solid income. They didn't have anything at risk because they were out of work for 3 or 4 months. people with really tough diseases they're combating that are covered with the health care that EXP is aligned with and things like that. I mean, it's just and as we were talking before the show, I think it's important for people to know that these are issues that you and Mike and Jay and many, I could go on with a list of people that we have been running the same circles for years. We've all been trying to figure out how to solve these problems. And I heard something that I hadn't heard in a while in Cabo, and I think this will resonate with you, Curtis. Have you ever been to a realtor's retirement party?
No, absolutely. And we talk about that. And sadly, probably over the last 2 to 3 months, I really had like 3 brokers that really had an impact on me my first few years in the business. And 2 of the 3 of them died, right? Just recently. And guess what? They were working right up until they died. And, you go back and you look, it's like, no, I mean, I think I've heard of one retirement party ever for an agent out of the, hundreds of thousands of agents that come in every year. There just is no retirement. There is no off ramp and things like that. And I think, I don't want to speak for you, but I know for myself, it's like I was in the business for 22, almost 23 years now, right? Selling almost over 6,000 homes, doing a lot of really cool things. But there really was no off ramp, right? And the way that this is aligned right now, I'm making more money than I've ever made, been able to do things, but I go to work now because I want to. And I think I can say the same for you is that, yeah, you could retire right now. You could be whatever idea someone has out there. If you guys, is killing it, right? He could be whatever beach, he could own whatever island, right? Do all those things. But he's here not because he's just, just because he wants to give back. Right? He wants to help out the people. And it's a whole different thing when you come to work because you want to versus I have to go to work. Man, that's a bad thing, right? We've all gone to work because we had to, and now we get to go because we love it and we want to come from a pure giver's heart and be able to help out. And that's a different thing that's not possible in I think almost every other model.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And I ran into Glenn a lot in Cabo, and again, it just stuck in my mind. He was talking about his definition of success, and it was, being able to do whatever he wanted to do, whenever he wanted to do it, with whomever he wanted to do it with, right? I mean, for me, it's time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom. Whatever your definition of success is, money is big in the equation. It's like Zig Ziglar said, it's up there with oxygen is probably the second most important thing that you need in life, right? Aside from oxygen. It gives you options. It gives you the ability to have different choices. But for real estate agents, we've always been so transaction oriented. And as soon as, and I was that guy, man, at 58 years of age, 4.5 years ago before Brent found me, I was looking at myself going, holy cow, I'm going to outlive my money, and I'm going to put my kids in the same position that I was in with my parents. And, when I was my mom's caregiver for 5 years, and bless her heart, I would do it all over again. But those were very challenging times, and I needed to figure out a way around that. And just by the grace of the good Lord, Brent and the gang, Brent went down and learned about EXP, and the rest is history. Let's do this, Curtis.
Cliff, let me interrupt you right there. Let me just make you feel even worse for just a second, if I can. Right? Obviously, we've known each other for so long, and sometimes I tell people, one of the best things that can ever happen to somebody is that you fail in real estate and you go find something that is a good match for you. Right? A lot of people shouldn't be in real estate. A lot of people shouldn't be in this. And, sadly, you coach so many agents, and me to a lesser extent, but you've coached thousands and thousands of agents. You actually probably helped a lot of people that had no business being in real estate stay in real estate for so much longer, right? And obviously a portion of those are going to come over to EXP, but a portion of those are actually just going to carry out that same experience you just talked about for years, going like, I don't know, they're on that treadmill, right? So you created almost like this cult following of everyone on these treadmills. That you're like, hey, they could have been off, but so now your journey or now your calling needs to be go get everybody off those treadmills.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it is, because life is better over here, I guess we could say. And I mean that sincerely. it's like you said, within about 2 years, I was able to replace income that I was, having to, go out and grind and show houses and do what everybody else does. And then I was, at a point after 2 years of working it certainly, but I was able to kind of, make that transition, which we should all be able to do. I mean, life is not going around and opening doors for people or going in and listening to sellers tell you how much their house is more it's worth than it is. I mean, it's just, there is more to life and more to the real estate industry than that little micro part of the business of, the sausage making that takes place there. But let's do this, because Curtis, you're such an interesting guy, and I would hate for people who are watching right now to not really just know a little bit more about you. Let's pull the curtain aside here, and I want to take a step back a little bit. Go back to like when you were growing up. Tell us, what was it like growing up in the Johnson family back in the day?
I grew up in San Jose, California, in the Silicon Valley. My parents got a divorce when I was about 3 or 4 years old, so had 3 sisters that I grew to love and respect women, and my mom was in the women's movement and all kinds of stuff. It was a wild time growing up, as my parents remarried and had a lot of mixed family and different things like that. A lot of experiences from influences from all over the world coming in, and we did a lot of things. We did a lot of, my parents were they loved to help out people, whether it was going to help out the homeless or, I just go back and I look at some of the things that happened in my childhood, and sometimes I go, oh, maybe that's not normal, right? We had people from Central America living with us, hiding from the government, if you will, and going through and experiences where, we just go out and try to help people, right? Is it politically correct? Probably not in a lot of things, right? So I had a good experience. I started, I tell people my first job was as my stepfather worked for a newspaper, San Jose Mercury News. So my first real job was as a delivery boy at 11 years old, because that's what we all did. I was the youngest, but I even had to lie. You had to be like 12 or 14 to be able to do it. But I was 11 and somehow had the documents that showed up that I could be 12 and have a job. And it was great. It taught me a lot of things. It taught me about doing the things that I didn't want to do. So when it was rainy, when it was cold, when the papers were huge on Christmas and Thanksgiving, you just didn't have a day off. You didn't have a day off, and you get that mentality to go up and you do your job, whether you feel like it, whether you're sick, no matter what. But actually, even before that, my mom, for some reason, had a hot dog cart that she bought from someone. So we would take this hot dog cart down to the mall, which was a block or two away, and try and sell hot dogs. Of course, we'd eat all the hot dogs and drink the soda and stuff like that. But it taught me the value of work. And I think that that's something that's lost on a lot of people today. Grew up, ended up kind of figuring out like, hey, what do I want to do with my life? And ended up going on a 2-year mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Alabama and Florida, and knocking doors. And you can see how pale I am and how, I burned in about 2 or 3 minutes. So it was about 2 years of being sunburned every day. But it was the greatest joy of my life, going out and sharing the gospel of Christ. And then came back and ended up getting married, been married for 25 plus years, working odd jobs, right? My mother-in-law was like, every time she turned around, I had a new job. I worked like 8 or 10 jobs, several at once. And she thought I was going to pretty much amount to nothing in life, I'm sure. And so one day I said, you know what, honey, I want to go into real estate. And she was an accountant. She, I dropped out of college. She was the smart one. She was an accountant at a dairy, and before that, and then she moved and she was an accountant at a mortgage company. And I said, hey, I want to get into real estate. I think I can sell it. And she had seen how much failure there was in real estate, and she said, no way. And I said, please, I really want to do this. And of course, she was going to have to fund the first little while, as I wasn't going to be making any money. And she said, fine, you've got 90 days to go sell a house. And if you can sell a house, you can keep going. If you can't sell a house, you need to go get what? A real job, which I was unemployable. There's no way I was going to go get another real job, because I was just going to bounce from job to job to job. And so I went out and I did everything I could do. I was cold calling. At the time, it was 22, 23 years ago, I'd run I'd go in, I'd search on the MLS, and I'd find houses and I'd print them out, and I'd go knock doors and I'd be like, hey, do you want to buy this house? Or I'd call people, cold call, hey, if you thought about moving, well, maybe. I thought about it, and they'd hang up, and I'd find their number and I'd print out the MLS and I'd go knock on their door and and they'd be like, whoa, what are you doing? You're crazy, right? And I'd go knock apartments in the middle of the night, and I'd run from security guards. And I remember one night I was laying, they were chasing me as I was putting flyers out on houses. I was laying under this car, and I remember I could feel his oil on my back because I was laying in this parking lot, and as they went by, and this guy in this golf cart looking for me, and I remember going, this is crazy. This is insane. And it's just going like, but what it taught me was I was willing to do anything I needed to sell a house. And I was trying everything. And actually the first house I sold was kind of a lead from my wife. She's like, hey, I heard so-and-so's moving. Ended up helping them, selling a house, sold like 10 that first year, made like $24,000, put it all back in the business. And I said, you know what? There's got to be a better way, because I was working 7 days a week, it felt like 168 hours a week, but I wasn't. And that next year, I said, hey, you know what? Everyone's telling me how amazing I was doing, and I was like, I'm dying. This isn't amazing at all. This is a trap. And so what I decided at that point, besides my wife saying, hey, I'm pregnant, we're going to have a baby, I was like, oh my gosh, I better get my crap together. I better figure this out. But Cliff, not soon after that is when we first kind of came in contact with each other. I said, I can't work any more hours. I can't duplicate myself. The only thing I can do is I know that other people are working less than I am, and they know things I don't know. And so I traveled all over North America going, please, can I come to your office? Can I come learn from you? And I started learning that there was, that winners did certain things strategically. And if you can duplicate those same things, you can get the same results. And so I just started doing that. And the second year, in the next 9 months, I sold 44 houses in 9 months and started a team. And then we went and sold 100 houses and 200. And I was on the cover of Realtor magazine and doing all these things and building up a team to hundreds and hundreds of sales each year, 9 times in the top 250 in America, once in the top 50. So we did a lot of really cool things, but that kind of gets me to about a little over 4 years ago, when Brent came to me and said, hey, have you heard about EXP? And I said, no, it sounds like it's a weird name for a real estate company. Hadn't heard of it, but I actually heard later on. I found out that I had, because I'd made some fun of somebody online. Actually, one of the co-founders, Brian Colhane, had made a post, and I made fun of him over it because again, I had a closed mind, wasn't interested, didn't make any sense to me. I listened to Brent, and I said, Brent, here's the reality, man. I think this is gonna be great for you. I think you're gonna kill it. I think the company was maybe around 1,500 agents, something like that. And I said, you could be handing me gold bricks, and I'm just not interested at this stage, right? I just barely partnered with Chuck and Angelo Fazio, and I just barely said, hey, this is where I feel I need to be going. I'm not interested. And he was amazing, right? You know, Brent, he's incredible. He said, I just love you just the same. And we kept in contact, and he went from 5,000 to 10,000 in revenue share, and he started to build it up. And you joined him. I started going, okay. And Albie joined him. I started going, man, you know what? And it really wasn't until the pain point was I started seeing, there was continual turnover, continual treadmill, if you will, in building a team. And I said, Brent, what is it? Why is the turnover less at EXP? Is it the stock? Is it the revenue share? What is it? And I really started having those conversations, not from I wanted to join, because nobody wants to join an EXP. Nobody wants to do that. But what I was doing is I wanted to rip off and deploy, just to duplicate it and say, I could do it better, right? And go back and say, what pieces can I put in my business? And then you start looking at it and you go, well, that's dumb. There's no way you could do this. It's so big. They've done it so much better than I could ever do, when you get your ego out of the way. And really, I started getting super close. And then all of a sudden, I got a little bird chirped in my ear that Kinder was going down to an event, that you guys got him to go down to an event. And I said, okay, great. And I talked to him. I said, Jay, rip it apart, because I don't want to move. And I know that you'll go, your BS detector will be on, you'll figure it out. And so I was excited. A couple days later, I'm sitting there waiting to hear what this recap is, so that I don't have to worry about getting new signs and just don't have to worry about it. I can go, it's a fraud. I figured it out. Here's what they're doing. And I would be like, oh my gosh, thank goodness I don't have to deal with that crap. I just don't want to deal with it. And he came back and he goes, dude, this is it. I go, what do you mean? He's like, this is it. This is what we've been trying to do for 10, 15 years, right? And so we started having those discussions and started going, and all of a sudden you start realizing, oh my gosh, I have to change, right? Not from this is an opportunity to I have to. Like, it's irresponsible to not do it. And then kind of that dialogue of going through and trying to find a way, how do I do this? And then, finally deciding that, kind of a funny thing, I had 20 people on my team at the time, and I was like, hey, Brent, I can't leave because, they're paying my bills. If I leave and they don't come with me, I'm screwed, right? And it's going to take me a while to rebuild. I can't do it coming from a place of scarcity. And he said, you've got to be willing to move, even if nobody comes with you. And I go, I'm not there. I'm not at that point. And over the next couple weeks, I got to that point. And I said, you know what? If they don't come, that's on them. I've got to do this for me, and it's the best thing for them. And if I'm a leader, hopefully they'll see it and they'll come with me. And so that was about 20 people. And right now, I'm just looking, this year, I'm adding about 10 people every single day, 7 days a week, So that's like 2 days worth of stuff. But I was locked up for a month. I'm like, what if 10 people don't come? And now 10 people come and probably that's you probably add 10 people during this interview, right? But it's crazy thing is going through, and then it puts us back in alignment of learning people that I'd run into and learn from, like yourself, and watch what you've done. Now all of a sudden we become business partners, and then it just takes off, right? So that's kind of the crazy journey of my life, how we got here and how we all kind of get back in alignment together.
Wow, that was, I'm just sitting here listening. I could listen to you tell the story, and I know we got the short story there, but that's really amazing. And for those people, again, who really don't know you, you are a Hall of Famer. You've sold, I don't know how many houses and how many people you've personally coached and touched, but you are a legend in the Phoenix and the Arizona market up there.
Well, I'm a legend in my own mind, if nothing else. How about that?
You're a legend in your spare time. Come on, man.
Thank you.
But seriously, Curtis, you have sold. You made it sound so easy, and I know that road to success that you enjoy now has not always been filled with great, easy things. When you were younger, I just kind of want to, because you have such an interesting background and stuff. Your parents were divorced, mom got remarried, you had people you were caring for in your house that were from other places and things. Who was your hero when you were young?
Wow, you know what? That's interesting. I was big into sports, right? I really loved the competition in sports. I loved football. I played pretty competitive soccer and basketball and tennis. I loved matching wills with someone, right? And I was always one of the smallest in almost every sport I played. And what I started, playing sports. I remember a good friend of mine, actually his parents used to babysit me, and I think they got a special deal because, we didn't have that much money. Like at school, I'd go in, the rest of the kids would, again, I loved my childhood, so I don't want to say anything bad about it, but, there's the kids that they'd go into one line for lunch, and then, I'd go to school and I'd get a different colored lunch ticket, right, that for the poor kids, right, the different punch card and stuff like that back in the day, and I'd go in a different line, go in the line with people, where they gave you lunch or whatever it was, and so there was a friend of mine that his family would babysit me while my mom was working one of her 2, 3, 4 jobs that she was working all the time as a single mom, going through all this stuff. But his family was so amazing. I became great friends with them, and he would go to soccer, and they're like, I don't know what to do with this kid. Like, what do we do? And so they're like, well, just bring him along. And so they let me come, and I played soccer, and I started, playing. And I was always the smallest one. But what I realized is I started playing, and I remember a couple times I just got smashed by some big people, right? I mean, just boom. And I remember going, that sucked, right? And I remember I said, okay, I'm just going to pop up. And I started, people were like, oh, wow, he got up. That was pretty cool. And I started going, well, I got positive and reinforcement by getting up and by getting hit and stuff so I just loved contact. I loved smashing into people. I loved finding big people and just nailing them and knocking them down. I loved the competition of being able to do that. So, my heroes were, obviously my parents. I really looked up to them, and, but it's tough, right? It's tough when you look at your parents, right? I mean, C3's got an amazing mentor in you, but we're like, it's tough sometimes as we're growing up looking at our parents. So I loved all athletes and things like that, and probably coaches I had. I loved just watching the coaches and giving you advice, and all of a sudden you following it. And so I loved my teammates and things like that. So I don't know. I had a lot of stuff, and then as it's kind of gone on, I started picking up. Yeah, I remember one of the first things I found one day, an old like one of Tony Robbins before he was anything. My mom had one of his old tapes or something like that, and I remember started listening to that and just falling in love with it, and just finding mentors through reading books and things like that. So even though I wasn't doing anything, even though I wasn't doing that in my life, I was learning, and I love to be able to go. I could learn from anybody. So those would be some of my mentors.
Yeah. So, I mean, you didn't get into this business with a silver spoon.
No.
I mean, no, but I think almost everybody, when you get into real estate, I think that there's a big chunk of people, and obviously it was a lot quieter. It wasn't social media, but people knew that I was getting into it. I mean, some of the people, and I just always, I remember, I can't remember exactly who, but I remember hearing a couple different things, kind of like doubters, right? And I started going, you know what? Every time I want to quit, I want to think of a doubter. And so right now it's easy to find haters and things like that online and stuff like that. But I think, to me, I loved playing with the chip on my shoulder. I loved going, you know what? They don't think you can do it. They don't think you can do it. And so every time I just be up against it going, you know what? I'm doing it right now. I'm doing this at 4 a.m. because I know that they're not willing to. I'm going to go do this because I know they're not willing to. And so I'd find joy in just going through that pain of it, right? Going through that pain. And yeah, that would be a push through. And we were talking offline before we got on here, like, yes, during the crash was brutal in Arizona, right? And everyone was, I had so much, right? And it just crashed, right? It was just like catching knives and going through. And I remember we had 200 and something listings at one time. And we had like 200 and something escrows at one time. We just couldn't close them. We couldn't close them. Couldn't sell. I mean, it was just like, and it was like, oh, isn't that great? You got listings. I'm like, this is like, it's like a noose around your neck. It's like, I go, you don't want listings right now. Every month I'm paying to advertise them. Every month I'm paying to work them. I go, and they're not selling. And then the government wouldn't let them close. And it was all kinds of stuff. So you're watching your business just crumble and watching people go, I'm going to go in and work for the banks, and I'm going to do this. And I'm like, I just go out of business. I'm like, I just chose, all these banks were coming saying, hey, we'll let you work these, and we work with them, and they treat you like garbage. And I was like, you know what? You can have them back. I don't want it. I'll go out of business before I work, for you and put it up. And so we did a bunch of short sales, but we didn't do the REOs, and we didn't do that. And we got destroyed, right? Going through and trying to say, okay, we're going to pick up the pieces. But the pain was, I just wasn't willing to quit, right? It was just probably too stupid to go, you know what? Like, the game's over, right? You've lost. You should give up and quit. You should go do something different. And I think I was just too pig-headed to go, you know what? That's what they want me to do. They want me to quit. They want me to give up. They want me to give up on my dreams. And so I'm going to work even harder, and I'm going to be even crazier. I'm even going to be more fanatical because I know inside I don't want to do it, and I know that they're waiting for me to fail, and I'm not going to give them the pleasure of watching me fail. And so that's really what it was, just that every day just waking up and just going, I'm just going to get punched in the face, and I'm just going to fight through it. And I know I kind of been rambling on that, but I'll just say this. A lot of times people, especially newer people that get into business, they get a little bit of rejection. They get a little bit of something, and they're like, oh, but you don't understand, like, it was hard. I worked for like 4 days in a row. I'm like, you're the biggest baby in the world. Like, I'm like, if you're willing to stop and quit after that, like, you don't deserve it. You don't deserve the results if you can't go through some pain. But for whatever reason, people think that because there's 7 billion people in the world, they think for some reason they are against all odds, they are the only person in the world that doesn't want to prospect. That somehow all other 7 billion people and every other billion salespeople in the world, that they love to prospect and they love to get rejected, they love to do this, but Curtis, you don't understand. I don't like to do this. You're like, well, no kidding. Nobody does. But it's about, we're willing to do the things other people aren't willing to do. there isn't some special gene that's designed to go, well, I just love this. No, you love it because you're willing to get the results and you're willing to personally go in and do it, right? Is that, am I on track?
You're on point.
Preach it, brother.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. You are right on track.
So,
I mean, there's a word going out right now. I can see in the cameras, I can see people's eyes lighting up like this. It's crazy.
So Curtis, you're very determined, obviously, through your career and, the things that you have done in the past. If someone, is in the audience right now looking for some determination, some more advice as to push through on something that maybe haters are talking about or maybe something they're struggling with, are there any books that you recommend that have helped you with your mindset on being determined, or is there any way that any advice that you could give somebody that is struggling with determination?
Man, you know what? It's kind of funny. Like I go through so many books, and I go through like Audible and so much that almost every book that I'm going through at the time becomes like my favorite book. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so incredible. Everybody's got to get this book. It's life-changing or whatever. So I could tell you, but probably next week it'll be a different book, and the week after it'll be a different book. But I would say like things like The Compound Effect, Atomic Habits, things like that talk about these little things that you do. They compound. And I talk about, I was trying to explain this to someone every day, and it was talking about revenue share, right? And going through, and that some people think, you have this big group or whatever. Look at Cliff. I mean, it's astronomical, right? What the things that both of you guys are doing. And I said, you know what? It's only because I go every single day I wake up and I take a screen capture of where I'm at. And you know what? I did it when I had zero. I did it when I had $0 ever from the company, right? And I went through and I started getting a screen capture every day because I had an experience, and I said I went through and I decided that I was going to vote every single day for revenue share. That every single day, if you've got, let's say, if you're a listing agent, every day you make a vote for a listing, and you go out and you try and contact sellers, or you do a postcard, or you knock doors, or whatever. Same thing if you're working buyers. But so often people look at growth as some random thing that happens to them or sporadic. I said, no, every single day you vote. Every single day you're telling your subconscious, this is important to me and this matters, and I'm either going to vote for it or I'm going to ignore it. And if you ignore it, it goes away. And kind of like what I tell my kids, and when we're talking about prayer, sometimes they go, well, what should I pray for? And I go, you know what? One of the best things someone ever told me was only pray for the things that you want tomorrow. So if you love your Xbox, right? Well, then pray and give thanks for it. Because guess what? What if you only got to keep the things you had given thanks for, right? What would you end up thanking? Well, you thank God for everything. You're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? So it's almost like if you want revenue share, then every single day you should be voting for it. You should be going through and saying, hey, I'm grateful for this. I'm giving it, I'm watering it, I'm nurturing it every single day. So I think those are the things, right? About what are the daily activities, the daily things that you're going through and doing. And kind of with that is you become your tribe, right? Is more than anything. It's about what rooms you get in, right? Cliff was talking about being in Cabo, being around people that lift you up and so forth like that. So many people don't have a board of directors, right? Cliff, I use you all the time, like in my visuals and things like that. And I say, here's the deal. This is my board of directors, and I don't have to pay Cliff. I don't have to pay, Brent or Jay or Mike or Chuck or, Sheila or really anybody, right? I don't have to pay you. You're my board of directors, and EXP actually pays you to be my consultants, right? And we become the board of directors for people. But it's all about, as Dan Beer says, being in the right rooms at the right times with the right people, right? When you've got the right mentality, you're open-minded. That's what the game changers. Being who are you around, and what are you learning from?
We say often that the most expensive thing that a person can own
is a closed mind.
Is a closed mind, right? I mean, if you think about, you look back at your own life, Curtis, how many times did you have to become open-minded in order to get to that next level in life, right? I mean, I look back at every event where I had to make a decision that made my life better. I had to be open-minded about things. And when I was closed-minded, that's when I got stuck in a rut, and I was not growing, and it was horrible. So, as I sit here and listen to you, your story touches my heart. You've been to places that you never want to go back to. and you committed to doing whatever it took not to go back to those places again. And it just seems like everybody we have that we interview or that I talk to that's highly successful has had that experience in life. They've just, God has taken them down to the bottom, right? And then you found out who the rock at the bottom is, and you never have to go back there again, right? I mean, it's really that power and that will and that determination. I personally believe that we don't get that on our own. I think we have to ask for it, and those are the things that we pray for, is the power to persevere and to push through. And, Zig said you can live what? You can live 3 days without food, you can live 1 day without water, but you can't live 1 day at all without hope. And so, if you don't have that going on up here, then real estate just may not be the place for you.
Yeah, and I tell people, I said, when you have the right strategy and the right ideas and the right process, right, you don't know exactly how it's going to come out, right? Like we were talking, we knew eXp was the right model, and we knew that if we attracted the right people that we would be able to build something that was attractive for a lot of people, right? But I don't think we knew that it was going to be as fast of a rocket ship. I think we thought it would take a little bit longer in how we were going to do it. But I tell people all the time, I said, you know what? We don't know what's going to happen. The government does a lot of wacky stuff, things that I think are terrible in general. And if they came out tomorrow and said, okay, you know what? We're going to do away with, you cannot sell real estate. Right, it's gone. Your whole career, everybody. There's no licensed agents. No one can sell real estate. It's you either own it or you don't, and that's it. No one can sell it. I said, you know what? Then we would go sell planes or sell boats or sell whatever it is, because the same strategies that work here, they work anywhere else. Right? We just happen to have a better model inside of this right now that is just like gasoline on this. That when you bring all these people together, it's an unfair advantage.
I think unfair advantage is a good way to put it. Disruptive is another one.
It's a movement,
certainly.
Is what I heard from the event. It's a huge movement. Everyone's coming over. So
yeah, it really is. The momentum right now is crazy, and we've got a crazy market. I mean, I've never in my 33 years of having a real estate license, it's really tough to put your finger on where things are going. But I have great comfort knowing that the bulk of my income is coming from all over the world right now. And, I know that if something is bad in New York, it's not going to impact, if I live in New York or if I live in Dallas and the market's bad here, it's not going to, impact me like it would if all of my income came from this area. Curtis, what are some of the things, how has life changed for you now? What are your big, hairy, audacious goals for the next 3 years?
Let me touch on that last point you made, right? It's kind of like the mutual fund approach, right? It is because, I had all my net worth in Phoenix, Arizona, which went from, $300,000, $330,000 homes down to 108, right? We were selling, it was just crazy, right? Watching and just watching it implode and go through. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Now it's, not just in Phoenix, but, my group's in like 46 states and 5-6 countries, right? As it would go around, we get impacted by all these things. But guess what? Where one market's up a little bit, another one might be down, and so forth. So it gives us power to be resilient and be able to fight through anything that's happening. And the reality is, we've got people that have been in all kinds of markets, right? Cliff, you've coached people to win in all kinds of different markets. Is this market hot? Absolutely, it's on fire. But guess what? We're positioned exactly where we need to be. And we know what we need to go. We're prepared for this, and we've got the right partners to be able to win through this. So, what do the next few years look like? It's kind of interesting because it's kind of one of those times where, I don't know if we're talking about like from a group size or whatever. I'm just looking over. That's what my numbers were this morning: 4902, right? So, from a hey, this is my target, right? My first target was, I thought, if I could ever get over 300 people in my organization, I'm like, I don't even know what I would do. And then I remember talking to Rob Flick and him showing me his stuff, and then him talking about getting 1,000 people on different levels. I thought, like, that's just pure insanity. Just absolutely just insanity. Guy's lost his mind, doesn't even know he's like, there's no way anybody could ever do that. Have 1,000 people on one level, one line, if you will. And now we're kind of there. And I was, over the last couple of years, I thought, if I could ever get to 5,000, then I just don't know what to do, right? I have to rewire my mind or whatever, right? And that's going to happen in the next week or two, right? Going to be able to hit that. So probably I probably need to be here at Cliff's feet and going, you know what? I don't know. Tell me what the next move is. Tell me, what do the next couple years look like? What does this financially, it's great. I'm impacting a lot of lives. It's about trying to impact more and trying to, when you've got people that are in your organization making over $100,000 a month on this, that's exciting, right? Not just can you get to the top of the mountain, but can you get multiple people there as well? That's the stuff that's super exciting. So I'm here ready to learn. Teach me what should I be doing over the next few years?
I just say keep your head down and keep running to the goal line right now. That's, we are, it's like you said, we're on a rocket ship, and money, the money that's being generated and shared here is, we have to be good stewards of our profits. And, that's the main thing I think I want to focus on is how I can help other people, not just in the real estate business, but in other places. It's not, profit is not a bad word, but it's really the profit motive that matters and what you plan on doing with it. So I've got great ideas on how to leave a legacy and build a legacy. And obviously I have my family. I want to make sure that they are, carrying that legacy on. But I would say that our goals, for the next years here are really to just be strategic about what we do and how we help others. It's just, for me, it's lighting candles on the way out. I've got much less time here than I've been here. So that's, this has been a really great opportunity for me to be able to have more of an impact on, put a dent in the universe, so to speak, than I ever thought I could. So that's kind of where my head is right now. And I know yours is right there too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is I tell people you can't pour from an empty pitcher, right? Even you look at, Mother Teresa or anybody like that, like they go, oh, well, Mother Teresa lived in the slums, and absolutely, right? She did, but she was one of the greatest fundraisers out there, right? She would bring attention and light onto situations that needed attention and things like that. And I think that's what, there's so many good people inside this company that are looking to be able to say, hey, yeah, this is great. This isn't, there's a few people out living out on the beach for sure, right? But what they're doing with the rest of their time is they're impacting people positively. They're giving up of their time, all the time. So, so the biggest givers you'll ever find, right? And be able to do that. So I'm excited to see how the next steps, right? Be able to say, okay, how do we take things from just good to, making a massive impact locally, and then also leaving legacies that, are just going to impact future generations.
Right. Yeah. It's a great chair to be in right now, and a great seat to have. And I'm just, again, I'm so excited that, I really take a knee and pinch myself every day that I can now, I take the favorite people that I've ever met in, the last, say, 15, 20 years, and I'm now able to, really work closely in a tight circle with them now to build something that's greater than us individually. I mean, we are really building something that is, that is going to be much bigger than us alone, and it's so great. It's such a satisfying feeling to know that we all have the things that hold us together, that the company has provided to make sure that we're all aligned correctly, and we're not hiding things from our neighbors about how we sell houses. We're actually opening up our books to people in our own market to show them all the tricks, tips, and tactics to have success in the business. And it's the first time that I've ever, other than being in the private coaching groups we've been in,
right,
I've never seen the kind of sharing and collaboration go on ever.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah,
it's really I mean, from my perspective, to look in on you guys and to, it's incredible how aligned, and you guys just share everything. Y'all are just a big bunch of leaders building each other up and leading this company. It's awesome.
Yeah,
so
it is amazing.
Can I just tell you how cool it is to see you guys do these these webinars and things like that together, right? Because ultimately that's you got to have your family, right? You got to have your family, and I envy you, and I'm sure a lot of people envy what you're able to do and working side by side. I know you guys have your own businesses, but to be able to do this, you're putting that standard bearer out there, and it's impressive for all of us to look at. And I know you like to ask the questions, but let me ask you, Cliff. So I think you've got we'll go Cliff 2 on this one. So you've got one of the strongest group of leaders in the entire company, right? And you're growing at probably the speed of the top 2 or 3 in the entire company, and you see all these. And I think one of the cool things is there's a financial reward for that, but also all of the different tips and strategies and things that you learn kind of funnel up. So you get to learn all these different things from all these different leaders and things like that. And you're a keen observer, and you're able to be aware of what's going on. What are some of the key things that kind of pop out to you as you look at some of the great leaders that you have inside of your organization? What are those things that someone's watching this, that what can they take away? Not just and the difference between maybe even great people that come in but maybe are not able to duplicate, not able to grow, not able to do those things. What are the things that you see that work for the people that are doing incredible, and maybe the things that could be hey, this person could be incredible but they didn't execute on this? What do you see?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I think about that a lot strategically, and about how people, when they come here, they have a certain mindset and a certain way of doing business, and you almost have to kick the sandcastle down a little bit, because over here we're building businesses, but we're also in the human capital business. We're also leaders developing leaders, and that really, the real estate is just kind of the kitchen, but the whole restaurant itself is so much more. I mean, we literally, if you look at the income pyramid, first of all, you have to master your trade, and then you learn, you have to hire people, manage people, you get good at that, build a business. But the real wealth creation, and this is what's so beautiful about this model, the wealth creation really comes at the top, Curtis, and that's at leadership. And I've never seen, and just things that Glenn does, like people thought, what the heck is Success Magazine, got to do with EXP? Well, guess what? I mean, it's core into how we can move forward here and look at all of the 130 years of classic leadership training and the assets within that brand and that company, that in a box now, we've got the ability to accelerate right out of the gate people through, started with Tom Hopkins when Tom started working with us. And now, we've partnered with other great thought leaders, not just in real estate, but in human development. Tony Robbins is coming just to speak to our group. I mean, if you look at how much emphasis we put on self-development and self-leadership skills here, to me, that's where the bread and butter of this company is going to be going forward. And like I said, real estate is just the vehicle, but we've got what powers the vehicle is the ability for us to create leaders out of people. Who was it that had the most influence of anybody in the world? Took 12 stinky fishermen and created leaders out of them, right? And influenced the world from here to come, right? I mean, there's no question that being able to develop leaders is the most powerful thing that we have as an asset in this company. And I continue to see people who are self-actualizing, who are really finding out all they can be. They come in with this attitude of, well, I run a real estate team, and then, here they are a year later, and now they're building these organizations, and they're filling different roles that require different skill sets, and they're stepping up, man. And that's what's great to see. And the other thing is that we're all here to help those people. We're here to collaborate and help them grow. So I think that is, for me, what is most exciting about what I see going on right now, and I see that being a trend that's going to carry on for a long time. Great question, by the way. I'm going to have to get on your podcast.
Thank you. Sounds good. That's awesome. Yeah. That's great.
Curtis, I hate to say this, brother, but I knew it was going to happen, but I just looked at the clock, and we're up at the
end of the road.
Yeah. No kidding, but this has been a phenomenal show. This will be in the ESPN Classic, reel, highlight reel, and everything. And it's you were a Hall of Famer yourself. a
you're
dear
too kind.
friend of
Thank you for having
mine
me
and
on.
a dear brother, and I'm just so excited. Every time I have such positive thoughts. I don't know what it is about Curtis Johnson, but you are beyond reproach, man. And I mean, I'm so thankful to be in business with you, and just grateful for this opportunity. I would say that we are all grateful, just not content. Maybe that's a good way to look at EXP right now, right?
No, not content, and we're ready for the next wave, right? We're doing some great things, but thank you both so much for having me on. I've been watching these for a long time. Excited to finally be a part of it, and excited to be a part of your organization. All the things that we're doing changing the world. So thanks for having me on.
Curtis, real quick, if somebody wanted to reach out to you and just get to know you better, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
I like Facebook, Facebook Messenger, the best. If you can find me on there, I'd say send me a Facebook message. I'm kind of usually up against that 5,000, friends. But if you send me a note like, hey, maybe I'll, unfriend somebody else and we'll move you into a spot, and then we'll be able to build that relationship there. It's probably usually the best there.
All right, super. Well, Curtis, again, thank you so much. I know you got a busy day. I'm going to let you run here. Audience, thank you guys for watching. 𝘓𝘍𝑍, you always brighten our day, my friend. So thankful for you back there in the control room. Way to crush it again today. C3, let's call it a wrap. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So don't forget, tips, tricks, and tactics right here every week.
Yep.
Thursday. We guarantee it.
That's right. We guarantee it.
Check it out.
See ya.
All right, folks, tune in to Cliff's Notes every Thursday at 1 o'clock Central for the tips, tricks, and tactics to explode your business. I guarantee it!